And we are back with Black Renaissance. And as promised, we continue our conversation with Michael Eric Dyson, the author of The Black Presidency, Barack Obama and the Politics of Race in America. Great book. In addition to writing this book, I think this was just a few months ago, you wrote a really important article in the New Republic about Hillary Clinton.
Right.
And you've essentially endorsed her. And I think that, I think I've looked at the numbers and there is strong support for Hillary Clinton amongst the black community, but there certainly is a schism between, sort of the old guard and younger Black Lives Matter supporters and that sort of thing. So talk to me about your initial skepticism even with endorsing Hillary Clinton after her run against Barack Obama.
You're absolutely right. There was a skepticism that was there. The 3 a.m. phone call commercial.
We all remember that.
We don't know whose hand is going to be it. It was really like the spooky black man who's scary, who might have control of the numbers and the codes for nuclear warfare. So that, her suggesting that, Martin Luther King Jr. didn't really play that big a role. It was LBJ who was important for the Voting Rights Act, and on, and suggesting that, that the white voters were really lining up behind her. So there were troubling implications there. And of course, her husband famously in South Carolina tried to diss Barack Obama by saying, hey, Jesse Jackson won South Carolina twice, and basically saying, and he ain't president. Absolutely. So the reality is there were troubling racial implications, consequences, and inferences there around Hillary Clinton surrounding her the first time. So I took that skeptic's journey. I talked to her. I followed her around the country. I listened to her proposals. I listened to her talk about public policy in the face of, dealing with Black Lives Matter. I heard her take them seriously, also challenge them. So I was convinced after only seeing her that this was the person I think that can best represent the interests of African-American people as a constituency and as a population in need of public policy that addresses them in particular fashion. And I endorsed her because I think she represents the best of what we're able to produce, seeing the broader American society, but having bifocals and also looking specifically in this instance at African-American people, at women, at gay, lesbian, transgender, bisexual people, at multiple constituencies simultaneously, but not denying the legitimacy of speaking about race in a way that Barack Obama couldn't. In one sense, white privilege affords her the opportunity as a white woman to speak about race without, causing any kind of suspicion. Are you trying to hook your own people up? What are you doing? Even when she speaks on behalf of women, she's not taken to task in the same way that Obama has been for speaking about interests of African-American people.
You sort of plainly said that in that article that Hillary Clinton could be a more effective president than Barack Obama would be. So. What did you mean by that?
I mean, because without the kind of controversy that would be occasioned by her addressing race, she would have a freer pathway, so to speak, to articulate the interests of African-American people, politically speaking, and to address them without fear that somehow she will be seen as playing to one's tribe or one's group. Barack Obama was forever concerned about how it would look, the optics of it. And look, I'm not besmirching his character or suggesting that that wasn't a legitimate concern, although I wished he might have overcome that. He has now. He's stopped lecturing black people, condescendingly articulating viewpoints about them, and instead joined with them, talking about the criminal justice system, saying we shouldn't put people in isolation, talking about how the disproportionate impact of our laws have incarcerated more African-American people and Latino people than others. So he's finally come around to that in granting more pardons. But Hillary Clinton from the jump, from the very beginning, doesn't have to be concerned about that and therefore has more freedom to behave in public in a way that addresses the issues of African-American people. Bill Clinton had more permission to act black in public than does Barack Obama. And as a result of the freedom, therefore, that Hillary Clinton also enjoys, I think, look, she doesn't have the ability of her husband to be charismatic among blacks. She doesn't have Barack Obama's inbuilt advantage as a black man. So what does she have to bring? Public policy. She can't talk the talk like they do necessarily, but she's brilliant. She's insightful. I think she's the best prepared person running by far for the office, including the great Bernie Sanders. But Hillary Clinton is an extraordinarily brilliant woman who's not only run so many things as a United States senator, as Secretary of State, and of course she served as First Lady in this in the White House. So here's a woman who is capable and who is able to deal with issues of strong dimensions of public policy, as well as the kind of politics and aesthetics of race in this country. And I think she's the best person prepared for that job.
And you speak very passionately about it, and it's a passionate article that explores that. Let me ask you if you can address it just briefly. Obviously, some of the criticism that has come from the Black Lives Matter movement has been about her husband's incarceration of black men during the 90s. What do you say to that when people, in just about, we got about 1 minute here.
Well, look, they talk about super predators, the language she used. She didn't invent it. John DeLulio suggested that. Others bought that notion. She said, look, I would use different language now. And then secondly, half the Congressional Black Caucus signed on to that crime bill. So if you're going to blame Bill Clinton, you got to blame them too. Bernie Sanders actually voted for it. Hillary Clinton, of course, promoted its legitimacy. Many black people were upset with the fact that crime was going on in their neighborhoods. They felt that crack cocaine, the political economy of crack, which was warehousing black bodies in prison as a result of that, both in Los Angeles and here in Oakland. There was the political economy of crack. It created enormous tension. Bill Clinton was approached by black people saying, why don't you address the crack cocaine industry, so to speak, and you've got to give harsher sentences to those who are perpetuating this legacy of inequality and criminality in our communities. So in light of that, let's not pretend that he did it out of nowhere. It had a political context. He's admitted now that it has led to the over-incarceration of African-American people, and many of the people who supported it now recognize that. But let's put it in that historical context without pointing fingers, without understanding what they were up against.
Absolutely. An important context to keep in mind. Once again, check out that article in The New Republic and get the book, The Black Presidency, Barack Obama and the Politics of Race in America. You can buy it online and in local bookstores. Also follow Michael Eric Dyson on Twitter, Michael E. Dyson. We'll be back with more Black Renaissance right after the break.